Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today we're taking a trip to the Arabian Gulf, passport not required, to explore the legal landscape of Qatar. Now, you might know Qatar for its oil wealth, its controversial hosting of the World Cup, or maybe its airline that seems contractually obligated to feature in every other movie. But what you might not know is just how many everyday activities can get you in hot water faster than you can say excessive heat warning. So, pack your imaginary bags, grab your metaphorical sunscreen, and absolutely do not pack your metaphorical tequila, because we're about to dive into 15 things you didn't know were illegal in Qatar. Trust us, by the end of this you'll either be booking a flight to experience these laws firsthand, or you'll be thanking your lucky stars you live somewhere with slightly more relaxed regulations. And by slightly we mean significantly, like imagine a spectrum of relaxed laws and then picture Qatar on the opposite end, clutching a rule book and nervously sweating. That's where we're headed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go make sure my I Heart Free Speech t-shirt is safely tucked away in the bottom drawer. All right, let's kick things off with everyone's favorite vice alcohol. Now, before you picture yourself sipping a mojito by the pool, take note: public drinking in Qatar? Yeah, about as welcome as a vegan at a BBQ festival. It's a big no-no. See, Qatar adheres to Islamic law, which, generally speaking, doesn't exactly encourage cracking open a cold one with the lads. While you can technically find alcohol in licensed hotel bars and restaurants, and even purchase it with a special permit if you're a non-Muslim resident, think of it like a secret handshake. It's tolerated behind closed doors, but the moment you take it outside, you're basically flashing gang signs in rival territory. And we're not talking a slap on the wrist here. We're talking potential fines, deportation, and in some cases, even jail time. So yeah, maybe stick to the sparkling water when you're out and about in Doha. Your liver and your criminal record will thank you. Moving on from booze to, well, snogging. Now, we all know that public displays of affection can be a bit like Marmite. Some people love it, others would rather watch paint dry. But in Qatar, it's less about personal preference and more about, shall we say, keeping your hands to yourself. Look, we're not talking about a quick peck on the cheek here. Even holding hands in public can be frowned upon. And anything more? Well, let's just say it's best left to the privacy of your own home. Remember, Qatar is a conservative country, and what might seem like an innocent display of affection back home could be seen as deeply offensive here. Now, we're not saying you have to walk around like robots, devoid of any human touch. Just, maybe save the passionate embraces and lingering kisses for somewhere a bit more, shall we say, private. Think of it like this. In Qatar, your love life is like a houseplant, best kept indoors and away from judging eyes. Right, so you've packed your bags for Qatar, excited to soak up some sun and culture. You've got your swimsuit for the hotel pool, but Qatar has a dress code. Think modesty is the name of the game. Shoulders and knees should generally be covered. Respecting local customs is crucial. Remember, you're going to Qatar to experience a different culture. All right, let's move on to a topic that's a bit more, shall we say, delicate. Now, if you're part of the LGBTQ+ community, planning a trip to Qatar might require some careful consideration. See, Qatar's stance on homosexuality isn't exactly what you'd call progressive. In fact, it's illegal, with punishments ranging from fines to imprisonment. Now, I understand that this is 2023, and the idea of criminalizing someone based on their sexual orientation is, to put it mildly, archaic and abhorrent, and frankly, it's downright depressing that we even have to have this conversation. But unfortunately, that's the reality in Qatar. Now, I'm not saying this to scare anyone or discourage travel. My goal here is to provide you with the facts so you can make an informed decision. If you're part of the LGBTQ+ community, you need to be aware of the risks involved in traveling to a country where your very existence is criminalized. It's a sad state of affairs, and hopefully things will change in the future. But for now, awareness is key. Be informed, be cautious, and most importantly, be safe. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. First the clothes, now this. What kind of draconian dystopia doesn't allow me to express myself through the medium of bacon? But unfortunately, in Qatar, that language falls on deaf ears. You see, in Islam, pork consumption is forbidden. Importing pork products is a big no-no. Qatar boasts a rich and diverse cuisine with influences from all over the Middle East and Asia. You might just discover your new favorite food. Right, so you're enjoying your non-alcoholic beer covered neck to toe in your best dessert-appropriate attire, desperately trying to purge the image of your partner from your brain because PDA is a no-no. You might be thinking, hey, at least I can complain about this online. Well, hold your horses there, buckaroo, because in Qatar, criticizing the government is about as welcome as a pork sausage at a mosque. See, Qatar's interpretation of free speech is a bit like their interpretation of beer heavily diluted. They have laws in place that essentially say, you can say whatever you want as long as it's nice things about us. Any negative comments about the emir, the government, or even vaguely critical remarks about their policies could land you in some seriously hot water. We're not talking about a gently worded letter to the editor either. We're talking fines, imprisonment, and for the truly unlucky, deportation. It's like that old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, except in Qatar they mean it. So unless you're looking to become intimately familiar with the Qatari legal system, maybe stick to posting pictures of your meals. At least those are usually pretty impressive. Now, you might think, okay, no problem, I'm not really the political type anyway. I'd rather just wander around taking pictures of this stunning architecture. And while Qatar certainly has some architectural marvels, you might want to think twice before you start snapping away, because in Qatar, some buildings are more sensitive than a politician during an election year. We're talking government buildings, military installations, even some embassies. Basically, if it looks remotely official, assume it's off limits for your Instagram feed. Now, you might be wondering, but how will they even know? I mean, it's just a quick snap on my phone. Well, let's just say that Qatar takes security very seriously. We're talking cameras everywhere and security personnel who are much more observant than your average mall cop. Getting caught snapping a selfie with a government building in the background could result in anything from a stern talking to and a deleted memory card to, in some cases, detention and questioning. And nobody wants to spend their vacation explaining to a Qatari official that they're just really into brutalist architecture. Now let's talk about religion, shall we? Qatar is a Muslim-majority country with Islam as the state religion. Publicly practicing religions other than Islam is frowned upon. Your religion is welcome in your heart and home, but keep it low-key in public. Respect their laws and customs, just like being a guest in someone's home. Right, so you fancy yourself a bit of a high roller, eh? Love the thrill of the roulette wheel, the strategic placement of poker chips? Well, keep those fantasies confined to your hotel room, because in Qatar, gambling is about as welcome as a bacon sandwich at a mosque. That's right, folks. Gambling in all its forms, casinos, online betting, even that scratch-off ticket you got from a gas station back home, is completely illegal. We're not talking about a slap on the wrist here. We're talking potential fines and even jail time. Look, I get it. Sometimes you just need to feel the rush of potentially throwing your life savings away on a hand of blackjack. But trust me, the only thing you'll be throwing away in Qatar is your freedom if you try your luck. My advice? Stick to betting on how long it'll take your luggage to arrive at baggage claim. It's practically a sure thing. So you've found yourself a travel companion for this Qatari adventure. Wonderful. But before you two lovebirds start planning your desert rendezvous, let's talk about a little something called cohabitation. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, this is getting a bit personal, isn't it? And to that I say, yes, it is. But someone's got to tell you that shacking up with your significant other, even if they left a toothbrush at your place, is a big no-no in Qatar. See, Qatar takes its Islamic law quite seriously, and that means keeping things strictly halal. Sharing a roof, a bed, or even a Netflix password with someone you're not married to, well, let's just say it's frowned upon. We're talking potential fines, deportation, and enough awkward conversations with the authorities to last a lifetime. All right, let's talk about drugs, and by talk about, I mean issue a stark and frankly terrifying warning about. Because in Qatar, their stance on drugs makes Nancy Reagan's Just Say No campaign look like a casual suggestion whispered by a particularly timid librarian. We're not just talking about the hard stuff either. Medicinal marijuana. Nope. That special brownie your friend baked? Absolutely not. Even some over-the-counter medications you can find in your nan's purse could land you in hot water. Look, I'm not here to judge your life choices. If you want to spend your weekend trying to lick your own elbow, go for it. But bringing drugs into Qatar or getting caught with them, that's a one-way ticket to a world of hurt. We're talking hefty fines, lengthy prison sentences, and in some cases, even the death penalty. Right, so you're in Qatar, feeling charitable, maybe inspired by the opulent surroundings to give back. Admirable, but before you set up a GoFundMe, hold your dromedaries. In Qatar, you need government permission to fundraise. They take charitable giving seriously, ensure funds go to the intended recipients, so contact authorities first to avoid trouble. Look, I get it. Sometimes you're walking down the street, you've got an empty candy bar wrapper, and you think, hey, screw it. And you litter, it's wrong, we all know it, but it happens. Well, friends, let me tell you in Qatar that casual disregard for the environment will cost you. And I'm not talking about a slap on the wrist and a tut-tut from a passing environmentalist. No, in Qatar, littering is taken so seriously you'd think they'd installed tiny CCTV cameras in every grain of sand. These fines are no joke. We're talking hundreds of dollars for a minor offense. Drop a cigarette butt? Boom, there goes your falafel fund. Toss a gum wrapper? Wham. Say goodbye to that souvenir bejeweled falcon you had your eye on. Now you might be thinking, John, isn't this a bit extreme? Don't they have bigger fish to fry? And to that I say yes, probably, but apparently they also have a zero-tolerance policy for trash. And honestly, who can blame them? Keeping a country clean, especially one essentially a giant sandbox, takes effort. So next time you're in Qatar and tempted to flick a cigarette butt into the shimmering desert sands, remember Big Brother, or should I say Big Sheikh, is watching, and he's got a hefty fine with your name on it. So you're in Qatar and you're missing your daily dose of, let's say, extremely graphic goat yoga videos. You wouldn't be alone in seeking solace online, but Qatar has some thoughts on what you can and cannot access. And by thoughts, I mean laws. You see, Qatar's government has implemented a series of firewalls and filters, effectively creating what can only be described as a digital bouncer who takes their job way too seriously. These digital bouncers, much like their real-life counterparts, are incredibly picky about who they let in, blocking access to websites and content deemed inappropriate or politically sensitive. And if you think, well, that's what VPNs are for, I'll just tunnel my way through this digital Berlin Wall of censorship. Hold your horses, cowboy. Using a VPN to bypass these restrictions isn't just frowned upon, it can actually land you in some seriously hot water. We're talking fines, and in some cases even imprisonment. Yes, you heard that right. In Qatar, your quest for unfiltered internet access could lead to actual jail time. It's almost comical if it wasn't so concerning. So next time you're in Qatar and feeling the urge to browse something a tad controversial, maybe just pick up a book instead, or, stare at a wall. It's probably less risky. Now let's talk about begging. It's an issue that exists globally, and Qatar is no exception. But while many countries grapple with how to address poverty and panhandling, Qatar has taken a rather, shall we say, direct approach. They've made it illegal, and not just a slap on the wrist illegal, but potentially facing jail time illegal. Yes, in Qatar, asking for a little help on the streets can land you in a very different kind of accommodation, and it's not the five-star kind. See, the Qatari government argues that this strict stance is about maintaining order and preventing any form of public nuisance. They claim to have systems in place to help those in need through official channels. But critics argue that criminalizing begging only further marginalizes vulnerable individuals, essentially sweeping the problem under the rug instead of addressing the root causes. It's a classic case of out of sight, out of mind, with a side of potential human rights concerns. So, if you're ever in Qatar and feeling charitable, perhaps consider donating to a local charity or organization. Because, let's face it, nobody deserves to be punished for their circumstances. Especially not when the punishment involves swapping one set of harsh realities for another. And there you have it, 15 things you probably didn't know were illegal in Qatar. Look, it's a country with a unique culture, and part of traveling is respecting local customs and laws, even if they seem a tad, well, let's just say different from what you're used to. So before you book that flight to Doha, maybe brush up on your Qatari etiquette, because the last thing you want is to accidentally land yourself in hot water over a misinterpreted hand gesture or a rogue goat yoga video. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting content. See you next time.